This story begins in a remote region of Australia, deep within a dense and dark forest. In 2015, 29-year-old Emily, an ecologist fascinated by the mysteries of nature, was conducting research on biodiversity. Her work focused on studying areas untouched by human influence. That year, she received funding for a project in an isolated forest in Queensland, Australia. The locals shared chilling stories about the region, but Emily dismissed them as mere folklore. Emily carried out her studies in the heart of the forest, near an abandoned observation station. Built in the 1950s, the station was closed after unexplained incidents in the area. Locals claimed to hear strange noises and said that people who ventured too deep into the forest would lose their sanity. However, Emily, guided by her scientific mind, saw these tales as nothing more than legends. For the first few days, the forest was calm. At night, the sounds of crickets and birds kept Emily company. However, on the fourth night, the atmosphere of the forest shifted. Emily stayed up late reviewing her notes when the silence was broken by the sound of shuffling footsteps in the distance. The noise seemed to be approaching her camp. Emily, knowing she hadn't granted permission for anyone to be there, prepared herself to confront whoever it was. "Is someone there?" she called out. The noise stopped. Emily grabbed her flashlight and began scanning the campsite. On the wet soil outside her tent, she noticed a trail of barefoot footprints. Strangely, the prints seemed to lead to her tent, but started from nowhere, and ended just as abruptly. Trying to calm herself, Emily managed to get through the night. But around 3 a.m., she was startled awake by the sound of rustling just outside her tent. Holding her breath, she listened carefully. The rustling seemed to circle around her tent. Then silence fell suddenly. A few seconds later, the tent's zipper began to slide open slowly. Stifling a scream, Emily grabbed a knife and mustered the courage to peek outside. There was nothing there. The next morning, Emily discovered something even more unsettling. About 200 meters from her camp, near a fallen tree, she found an old, weathered journal. The pages were damp and moldy, but some of the entries were still legible. The journal belonged to a researcher who had worked there in the 1960s. The entries described sleepless nights, the sensation of being followed, and shadowy figures. The final entry was chilling. "This place has a spirit. It's taking over me." Help Emily tried to brush off her unease, but with each passing night, the events became more intense. One night, the temperature in her camp plummeted, and the forest fell into complete silence. There were no sounds of insects or birds. Then she heard a whisper outside her tent. "Leave this place." The voice was so clear that Emily froze in terror. She grabbed her flashlight and ran deep into the forest, only to realize that she was hopelessly lost. After wandering for some time, she spotted lights in the distance. They seemed to come from the old observation station. Desperate, Emily made her way to the building. As she stepped inside, a cold gust of air greeted her. Walking down the corridors, she noticed faded notes and sketches on the walls. One of the drawings matched the spirit described in the journal. A tall, shadowy figure with empty, haunting eyes. Then she heard footsteps behind her. Emily started running, but with every step she felt herself moving slower, as if an unseen force was holding her back. Finally, she collapsed to the ground and lost consciousness. Emily woke up in a psychiatric hospital. She had been found unconscious near a village, miles away from the forest. Doctors told her she had suffered a traumatic experience and had blocked out the details. However, Emily insisted that the shadowy figure she saw at the observation station continued to haunt her dreams. She believed that the forest wouldn't let her escape so easily. Locals claim that the forest is cursed and that no one can stay there for long. The forest remains eerily quiet, and the observation station lies in ruins. But on certain nights, some say they can see the shadowy figure, what Emily calls the dark spirit, staring out from the station's windows.